I received a review copy of Vamp on the Batwalk from the designer, so thanks to John Simantov. Compete to become the most fashionable vampire in the trick-taking card game Vamp on the Batwalk. You're going to have to play your best cards if you want to win tricks, but information is limited. You know the colours of the cards in your hand, but you don't know the values. You do know what everyone else is holding though. So it's up to you to deduce what's in your hand, which card to play, and when. A trick-taking deduction game with a spooky vibe. I'm Adam Porter. I'm a game designer and reviewer from Wales, and on this channel I analyse games through the lens of a product designer. If you like what I do, please subscribe, share the video and comment below. Vamp on the Batwalk caught my attention because it's based on a similar premise to two of my own designs, Pikoko and Zingazam. That's to say that all three of these are trick-taking games where you don't get to see your own cards. But the similarities kind of end there. It's fascinating to see how many different experiences can be created from seemingly tiny variations on a familiar concept. Designed by John Simantov and published by Jellyfish Game Studio, Vamp is playable by 2 to 6 people, and it essentially consists of a deck of oversized cards and a score track with standees, which gives the game some nice table presence. Each player starts around with 5 cards in hand, which they hold facing away from them. The remaining cards are set off to one side, and in Vamp, the back of a card shows the card's suit, but not its value. The start player selects a card from their hand, unseen, and places it face up on the table. Each other player in turn does the same, with no requirement to follow suit, as you might see in other trick-taking games. The first card of a trick starts in the lead, but a subsequently played higher valued card matching the same suit will beat that starting card. If a card's played of a different suit, but it matches the value of the leading card, a bonus point is scored, and the highest numbered card matching that suit becomes the leader. This is called stealing the show. Whenever a star is played, it always takes the lead, regardless of its suit, unless a garlic card has been played in the same trick. Garlic cards are normally considered the lowest ranked cards, but they become the highest rank when played in a trick with a star. When every player has played a single card, the player who played the winning card scores a point, moving the vampire up the Batwalk. The player to the right starts the next trick, and after 3 rounds, the highest scorer wins. Onboarding refers to the process of introducing new users to a product and getting them started, with the goal of turning them into committed fans. In the board game industry, the onboarding process often starts with the outward presentation of a game, the box cover. Vamp on the Batwalk is an attractive package. Artist Mike Rankin's illustrations are bright and fun. To my eye, they have the look of a children's cartoon. There's no edge here, no wink to adult audiences. It's a clean, innocent setting. There's nothing here that really implies vampire, extended canines aside. There's no blood, no gore, there's nothing dark or brooding. This isn't a huge criticism, but the presentation does skew young. The product is pitched as suitable for ages 8 and up, but I think the visuals are going to appeal to a slightly younger age group. The next step in onboarding is the rulebook, and this does a decent job. I had no questions after a single read of the rules, but it is worth noting that the included player aids do contradict the rulebook regarding the way to handle stealing the show. It's a minor point, but it's bound to cause some confusion, and indeed, I'm not really sure which is the correct way to play. It can be a challenge introducing an experimental trick-taking game to a new group, especially if they've never played traditional trick-taking games. I learnt that lesson fast when I was demoing Pikoko back in 2017. Teaching experienced trick-taking fans was a breeze. I only had to explain a simple twist on familiar conventions. But teaching people who were unfamiliar with traditional trick-taking games was challenging. It required a 2-step process. First, teaching them how trick-taking works, and then teach them how my game turns it on its head. It was vital that players understood the implications of the subverted rule set because they were asked to predict the outcome of a round in order to score points. Vamp on the Batwalk avoids that pitfall, primarily because the round plays out and players score points based on the card play rather than any pre-round bidding. For trick-taking aficionados, this makes Vamp a plain trick-taking game rather than a contract game. It's very simple to get up and running, but the game is somewhat short of strategy. Vamp's trick-taking rules are simple and pretty standard, but there are a couple of areas where the game strays from the usual formula, and this could trip up frequent players of other trick-taking games. Firstly, in Vamp, you don't have to follow suit. This is pivotal to the design. Forcing players to follow suit would remove all of the decisions in the game, so it's a change that I welcome. It's not unheard of in other trick-taking games either. Stick Elm is an absolutely classic modern trick-taker, where you can always play whichever suit you wish. In Vamp, the highest card, the star, beats all other ranks, except for the lowest card, the garlic. Now that feature crops up in many modern trick-taking games, including Potato Man, David and Goliath, Skull King, and my own Zingazam. It's a fun mechanism, because it means there's always a chance you're going to lose a trick. You're never safe. Finally, in Vamp, the winner of a trick doesn't play the first card of the subsequent trick. Now that change is peculiarly unintuitive. It's clearly there because the start player in a trick wins more often than not, due to the lack of control for the other players. This rule prevents the start player storming through several tricks, winning every time. But it does feel quite random, with players amassing points simply because they were first in turn order, rather than through any decisions that they made. Nonetheless, it does keep the scoring tight, and it's much more likely that a later player in a trick can disrupt the flow at higher player counts. And so for that reason, I wouldn't recommend playing this game with fewer than 4 players. I rate games using my own engagement ladder system. Games are awarded 0 to 3 points in 5 different categories, and each point scored climbs the game 1 rung up the ladder. A score of 10 or above reaches the top rung and indicates a real favourite with me. For thematic immersion, Vamp scores 0. The game works hard to invoke its fashion show setting, and the standees and Batwalk score track go some way towards setting the mood. But the game is less successful at invoking a vampire theme, and the narrative, as in most trick-taking games, is muddled and irrelevant. Vamp on the Batwalk is highly interactive. Turns pass by in seconds, so you're never kept waiting, and every player is invested in every move. This is especially true because your opponents see the outcome of your decisions a split second before you do, so that creates fun moments in the game. If your opponent laughs when you select the card you're about to reveal, you're immediately filled with regret. And if they groan, you know you're onto a winner. The very brief moment of anticipation adds tension to the game. There's a lot of staring other players in the eye, as if their expression could tell you something about the value of the cards in your hand. Feedback in the game is pretty satisfying. Your card flip might put you in the lead in a trick, or it might leave you trailing, but there are a good number of potentially exciting reveals, turning over a garlic card to beat a star, or scoring bonus points by matching the rank of the leading card. Meaningful choices can make or break a design, and the level of agency expected by players varies from one group to another, and especially between different age groups. Vamp on the Batwalk doesn't allow its players much control over proceedings. There are a few very simple decisions to be made. Do I follow suit, or aim for a bonus point by matching rank? What values do I think are left in my hand? And can I remember what's already been played? But it's not a perfect information game. A number of cards are left in the deck unused in any given round, so your deductions are always likely to be flawed. And the overall tone of the game is one of educated guesswork and/or random card play. You'll probably have a sense of whether this is going to work for you and your group. Again, it feels like the gameplay skews young, primarily because of the heavy reliance on chance. But then the mechanisms are probably too complex for that young audience. The overall score of 7 is very respectable and indicative of a well-constructed game which is fun to play. It doesn't reach my highest rung, primarily because of the lack of player agency. So I'm going to close out, as usual, by placing the game on my idea execution matrix. The most successful commercial products marry an ingenious core concept with outstanding execution. The idea behind Vamp on the Batwalk is sound. New trick-taking experiences are always welcome, and this one doesn't add much complexity to spoil the flow. It's weird, but it's simple weird. The execution is perhaps a little weaker. The gameplay is most likely a little too random for many groups. The design would have benefited by putting a little more control in the hands of the players. And the artwork is lovely, but it might not appeal to the target audience. Using the back of the box as a score track creates a nice centerpiece for the game, but it's irritating to use because you have to tip all the components on the table, including those which aren't currently in play, in order to flip the box over. And as a product design choice, utilising the back of the box in this way leaves no space to display important information about the game. Frankly, the game is short and the scores are low, so it'd be perfectly manageable to score with pen and paper or tokens, avoiding the need for a score track and standees at all. The game sits in the blue-green portion of the grid. Not a disaster, but unlikely to make a huge splash. I'd recommend Vamp on the Batwalk to fans of trick-taking games who are happy not to take the whole thing too seriously. If you treat it as a party game or a light-hearted family game, then there's fun to be had with Vamp on the Batwalk. For more game reviews, deep dives, designer advice and product design analysis, click on one of the links and explore the huge number of other board game videos on my channel. Until next time, all the best.